Today we're comparing the Pro-jekt debut Carbon EVO against the Fluance RT85. Hey friends, welcome back. So first off, let's start with their price tags. As of the making of this video, the EVO is going for $499 and the 85 is also going for $499. So since they're both the exact same price, we're going to give them both 1 point. Now moving on to their speeds, the 85 spins at 33 and 45 RPM, but the EVO spins at 33, 45, and 78 RPM. So with that one, you'll be able to play 12-inch albums like the ones you see on the wall behind me, these smaller 7-inch singles, and even those older 10-inch shellac records, also known as the 78s. So since the EVO pretty much allows you to play everything, we're going to give this point to the EVO. Now moving on to their motors, both of these turntables are belt-driven, meaning that their motors are off to one side and they spin the platter using a rubber belt. So since they're both the exact same in this respect, we're going to give them both 1 point. Now moving on to build quality, the plinths of both turntables are made of MDF wood, and overall they're both very strong and sturdy. However, that being said, the EVO weighs only 13.2 pounds and the 85 weighs 16.7 pounds. Now this 3.5 pound difference is most likely due to the heavier acrylic platter of the 85, but we'll talk more about that in a second. Now, as I've said before, when it comes to sound quality, the heavier a turntable is, the better, because basically things don't rattle around as much. So keeping this principle in mind, since it is substantially heavier, we're going to give this point to the 85. Now, as I just mentioned, when it comes to their platters, this is where the 85 has the slight advantage. It comes stock with an acrylic platter, and that stands in contrast to the dampened steel platter of the EVO. Now, although the steel platter of the EVO is no slouch by any means, and it almost certainly is going to sound better than any non-dampened aluminum platter, at the end of the day, it just can't compete with a solid acrylic platter. So why is acrylic better? Well, as Fluance describes it, quote, "The high density and greater mass of the acrylic provide a consistent speed while also dampening unwanted vibrations," unquote. So basically the speeds are more accurate and the sound quality is better. Also, as I've said in other videos, another added benefit of the acrylic is that you don't even need a turntable mat. All you have to do is just put your record directly on top of the platter, drop the needle, and you're good to go. So that's going to be a little more convenient for you. So overall, because its platter is simply better, we're going to give this point to the 85. Now moving on to the various colors you can get these turntables in, they both have a few options to choose from. The 85 comes in 4 colors: piano black, piano white, walnut, and bamboo, which looks really nice, and the EVO comes in 6 colors: high gloss black, high gloss white, satin fir green, satin steel blue, satin walnut, and satin white. So since the EVO gives you 2 extra options to choose from, we're going to give this point to the EVO. Now moving on, let's talk about cartridges. So if you're new to record collecting, the cartridge is basically the little box on the end of the tone arm, right here, which contains the stylus or record needle, and it converts the grooves of your records into music. So it's going to have the biggest impact on your turntable's sound quality. Now, the EVO comes with a CAMEO Rainier cartridge, and the 85 comes with an Ortophon 2M Blue cartridge. Now, I've heard the 2M Blue, I have one in my collection, and it sounds great, but I have not heard the CAMEO Rainier cartridge. However, based on the reviews I've read online, people really seem to like that cartridge as well, and they often compare it to the 2M Blue. So, considering everything, I would argue that both of these cartridges are very comparable to each other, and therefore, I'm going to give them both 1 point. Now moving on to the preamp, some turntables have it built in, and others do not. If your turntable already has a built-in preamp, then you won't need to buy one separately, and that's going to save you some money. So when it comes to these turntables in particular, neither of them has a built-in preamp, which is kind of a bummer considering the price you're paying. But both Fluance and Pro-jekt do offer their own separate external preamps for around $100 more. Now, considering all of this, if you already have a receiver with a phono input, then you already have a preamp in your setup and you're going to be good to go. But regardless, getting back to these turntables, since neither of them has a built-in preamp, I'm going to give them both 0 points. Now, when it comes to the operation of a turntable, there are two main categories: manual and automatic. Manual means that you have to raise and lower the stylus yourself. Most turntables are going to fall into this category, and an automatic means that the turntable will raise and lower the needle itself. So those are going to be a little more convenient for you. Now, when it comes to these turntables, both of them are manual. However, the 85 also has an auto stop function. Basically, what that means is that once the needle reaches the end of the record, it stops spinning the platter. And that prevents you from accidentally damaging your stylus. You know, like if you happen to fall asleep and it just keeps spinning all night long. That would be very bad and it would damage your stylus. So this is definitely a good feature to have. So overall, since the 85 has auto stop and the EVO doesn't, we're going to give this one to the 85. Now next up we have the counterweight. As its name implies, this is a little weight at the back of the tone arm which prevents the needle from pressing down too hard on the record grooves. This downward pressure is called tracking force. So the good news here is that neither turntable has an excessive tracking force which could damage your record. So that's good. And both of them do in fact have an adjustable counterweight on the back of their tone arms. So because they're both the same in this respect, we're going to give them both 1 point. Now moving on to USB functionality, neither of these turntables has a USB connection. So if you're looking to transfer your records to your computer, then neither turntable is going to be the right choice for you. However, if on the other hand, you just want to play your records and just listen to them, then both turntables are going to be perfect for you. So it really just kind of depends on what you want to do, but regardless, since neither turntable has a USB connection, I'm going to give them both 0 points. Now when buying your first record player, another important thing you should consider is how easy is it going to be for me to set up? Well, usually the most difficult part of the setup process is aligning the cartridge. If you don't do it right, then the needle will not sit inside the groove properly, and that's going to cause sound problems and scratched records, which is no fun. Now, the great news here is that both of these turntables already have their cartridges pre-aligned right out of the box. So that's really cool, and that's going to save you some time and frustration, so we're going to give them both 1 point. Now moving on to accessories, the EVO comes with a felt mat, and both turntables come with a power cord, a 45 RPM adapter, rubber belts for their motors, RCA cables, and of course their dust covers. Now, interestingly enough, the 85 also comes with a pair of white gloves, so you don't get your fingerprints on it. So that's kind of unique. But overall, since they both basically come with the same stuff, I'm going to give them both 1 point. And finally, last of all, both of them are not Crosley Cruisers, so they both get a point. Alright, so our final tally is the Pro-jekt debut Carbon EVO with 9 points, and the Fluance RT85 with 10 points. So even though the 85 just barely managed to take the gold there at the end, overall, these are both great turntables, and I just know that no matter which one you go with, you are going to absolutely love it, and you're going to spin a lot of great music on it. Now, before we go, today's song of the day is Dynamite by BTS. And if you have a suggestion for a song of the day as well, post in the comments down below, and you might see it in a future video. Also, one more thing, in my last video, some of y'all correctly pointed out that I made a mistake by touching both the surface of the Onzo stylus cleaner and the bristles of the anti-static brush. And doing that can transfer oils from your fingers onto the grooves of your records. So I was doing that for demonstration purposes, but now I've cleaned both of these items and I'll make sure not to do that again in the future. So thank y'all so much for pointing that out. Alright, now getting back to the turntables, which one did you like more? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you love record collecting as much as I do, then feel free to subscribe and smack that little notification bell, which is somewhere down there, so you won't miss out on the new videos. And most importantly of all, friends, have an awesome day, stay safe, and keep spinning that vinyl.